My wife and I lived the best life until after the incident. Hi everyone, welcome back to another Reddit cheating story. Before we start, please hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell so you won't miss another cheating story goes live. My wife and I have been together since we were 17. High school sweethearts that stayed together through LDR in college and got married 5 years ago. Prior to the incident, we were both completely monogamous, had never cheated on each other, and had only ever been intimate with one another. Around the time of our wedding, there was a management change at her place of employment. She and the new boss, about 5 years her senior, had some initial friction, but then became very close. Some years later, promotions occurred, changes happened, and he left the company, while she got her own shot at the big chair. The two of them stayed close, and became even better friends outside of work. Being the supportive husband I am, I encouraged this, as she didn't have many friends at the time, and I didn't want to be that guy who frowned upon her friendships with other men. Fast forward to the last few months. I became somewhat suspicious of her behavior, noticing that she would do things like come to bed with me but stay up super late using her phone, add lock screen passwords to her phone, leave the room to take phone calls, and find reasons to leave the house, like holiday cookie runs. Again, not wanting to be the stereotypical jealous husband, I shrugged off a lot of these things, never once doubting her faithfulness and commitment. Then, about 3 weeks ago, I was looking for a return label in her email, a common occurrence, and I stumbled upon an email chain with him. In the email, she expressed her love for him, and he for her, multiple times, and it was obvious that they had been having a physical, if not intimate, relationship for some time. My heart felt like it was going to pound out of my chest. When I could breathe again, I went to work. My job is one in a technical field, and it requires me to travel about twice a month, for 2 to 4 days each time. Prior to my next trip, I dumped all of her text messages from her phone and set up a hidden camera in the house. You may think this was extreme, but at this point, I was just hoping that I was overreacting. I wasn't. From the comfort of my hotel room several hundred miles away, I had to watch their hours-long makeout sessions. I witnessed her do things to him that she's never been willing to do for me. There was sex, romance, and snuggling, all at the expense of my living room couch. The text only made it worse, and I continued to torture myself by watching and reading both until I couldn't stand it anymore. Adding insult to injury, at the time, she was 20 weeks pregnant with our first child. Since this is already too long, I'll just cut to the chase. 3 weeks ago, I confronted her, and told I knew everything. She had a breakdown, and literally begged me on her hands and knees, sobbing, to not leave her. We had a very emotional weekend, and talked for hours about our marriage, her relationship with him, and our future together. I felt incredibly guilty about leaving her, even though she was in the wrong, so I decided we would do a trial reconciliation, get counseling, and try to work this out. Since the confrontation, we've pretty much had a dead marriage. I can't look at her without seeing them, which means I can't bring myself to touch her or tell her that I love her. She has openly admitted that she is more attracted to him, and that, if given the choice, she would choose to be with him now, because I'm essentially treating her like crap. I believe that time heals all wounds, so I may eventually be able to forgive her, and learn to love her again. Right now, I don't think that's possible. I also don't know if I'll ever be able to trust her again. I'm basically staying for our unborn son. My question, finally, I know, is this: the more I think about this, the more I want to GTFO. Am I abandoning my son? Should I be working harder at this? I feel nothing but guilt and anger over this situation, and that's left me very conflicted. Story 2, married for 19 years before my wife cheated on me. I got married when I was 18 in 1964. It feels like I'm not even the same person anymore. I used to be in good physical shape, and now I'm stuck in a wheelchair. My wife and I both had to work full-time since I didn't have the income to support both of us. I worked in construction and she cleaned hotel rooms. We never had any kids, and we still had time to ourselves on the weekends. I don't think we ever argued, but this was so long ago I'm losing details. And we didn't have any issues getting along. Over the years I started to make more money and she was able to quit her job and stay at home. I would work longer nights though, and our marriage turned more into friendship, honestly. We rarely had sex, and although I still loved her, I felt like it was different. We didn't spend enough time together towards the end. I take the blame for leading us down the wrong road with my job. As you will read later on, this wasn't the only issue, but still I should have addressed this situation while I still could have. One night I get back from work and at first everything seems normal. Dinner was ready and we had the TV set to baseball, my favorite back in the day. I talked to her in the kitchen for a little and went to my room to change out of my work clothes. When I went in there, I found a box of condoms on my nightstand. I started to panic because I had a vasectomy years before this and never used condoms. I immediately asked my wife about them and she couldn't think of an explanation in time. She started crying and came clean about the cheating. She invited her friend from work over for sex while I was out and apparently forgot to get rid of the condoms. I'm not ashamed to admit I was crying as well after hearing that. I tried to find out why she did this and she said she just wasn't attracted to me, was lonely, and never enjoyed our sex. I didn't know what to say and ended up leaving. We got divorced after 19 years of being married. In my 40s I was a disaster. I lost all confidence and motivation to go on. I started drinking and eventually became an alcoholic. It took me until my 60s to kick this habit. I couldn't look myself in the mirror while thinking I was a failure of a man. I wanted to date again, but I just thought the same would happen again. It never occurred to me that I was bad in bed and I really didn't have any good answers. My skin started to wrinkle a bit, especially on the back of my legs, but I took pride in maintaining my figure for a while, and when I had sex during our marriage I swear she enjoyed it. I kept my tough guy appearance through my 30s, and would still wear my bandana during sex, which was a turn on for her. I was generous and always went down on her when she wanted me to. I used cock rings to maintain erections and I could always orgasm extra hard, which was a fetish of hers. If I tried my best, by definition I couldn't do anything else. As time went by though, I started to think about the idea that at an older age sex wasn't too important, and about 5 years ago I started dating again. We don't have an active sex life, but she assured me that there was nothing wrong with me. I remarried last year, which made me so happy, but unfortunately that's when I got my cancer diagnosis. Since then I've lost a lot of energy and my new wife is the only one that keeps me going. We are trying chemo, but the future looks bleak. In my remaining days I want to share some knowledge I've collected over the years to make the world a better place. My mental abilities are also slowly waning, so I need to do this before it's too late. I hope all reading this can learn something from me to make their life better. Here are some of the best comments from our community. Wow, thank you for sharing. You should keep a journal and write down all life lessons that you've learned when you think of them. I wish you the best of luck and try to stay positive. Glad you have a loving wife, seems like you truly deserve to have someone so caring finally. Thank you for sharing your story, sir. As a 25-year-old, I see my generation and get the feeling that cheating is becoming more commonplace in relationships nowadays, even though it has always happened before. No one can tell you what to do because they don't walk in your shoes. As for me, based on my experiences and perspectives, I walk away from the relationship now and take time to myself to grieve, process, heal, and make a game plan for myself on my own. First thing is getting my divorce and finances settled. As soon as the baby is born, I'm having a paternity DNA test, and soon after I'm fighting for 50% custody at minimum if the baby is indeed mine. From then on out, I'll be working on myself while also juggling co-parenting outside of marriage. To me, the damage done is irreparable and will only cause the baby additional harm if I tried to stick it out and fix a broken relationship. Again, this is all based on my background, my perspective, and my personal experiences. It's also important to know that this isn't the end of the world for you. This is just a small obstacle and course correction opportunity for you. The sooner you make peace with all that's played out and the quicker you come to realize that you're alive and each day you're alive is a winning and beautiful day, the better off you'll be and the better off your baby will be as well. You're not alone. This happens more than you'd believe. People get over it and live amazing lives afterwards. Things could always be worse than they are. Keep your focus on the positive and learn from the negative. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell for any future cheating stories.